Hello everyone. Let's head on to our first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for staying quiet after my coworker tried to get me fired, only for my boss's wife to find out and beat her up in the office? I, 33F, have been in a private relationship with my coworker, Chris, 34M, for about 3 years. We kept it quiet to avoid office gossip, but things took a turn when Jess, 28F, joined our team. She became obsessed with figuring out my personal life, constantly prying and making comments like, "You and Chris spend a lot of time together, and I wonder if there are any secret office couples." At first, it was just annoying, but then Jess escalated. She went to HR, falsely accusing me of using my relationship to get ahead. Chris and I had to sit through an investigation, but we were cleared. Still, the damage was done. People started treating me differently, and the office felt colder. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. A few weeks later, I noticed Jess getting close to our boss, Matt, 42M. She started going on private business lunches with him and suddenly had access to things she shouldn't. Then, out of nowhere, I was called into HR again. Another anonymous complaint claimed I was creating a hostile work environment. I knew Jess was behind it, but instead of panicking, I started documenting everything. When HR confronted me, I almost exposed Jess's relationship with Matt, but I decided to keep quiet. I figured she'd slip up on her own. And she did spectacularly. One night, our team went to a restaurant after work. Coincidentally, Matt's wife was there with her friends. As she was walking by, she overheard Jess loudly joking with a coworker about how Matt was wrapped around her finger and how she was getting whatever she wanted at work. That got his wife's attention. I actually tried to warn Jess. The next morning, I pulled her aside and told her she needed to be more careful because Matt's wife had been right there when she made those comments. I wasn't even trying to be petty. I genuinely didn't want to see this turn into a full-blown disaster. But Jess just rolled her eyes, smirked, and said, "Please, she's too dumb to figure anything out." I shrugged and walked away. I tried. Well, Matt's wife wasn't dumb. She started digging, and a few days later, she stormed into our office, furious. She went straight to Jess's desk, threw a stack of printed-out texts onto her lap. Yes, she had receipts, and then she swung on her. Jess barely had time to react before Matt's wife grabbed her by the hair and dragged her to the ground. Papers went flying, people screamed, and it got ugly fast. Jess fought back, clawing at her, and within seconds, chairs were knocked over, a monitor crashed to the floor, and someone had to physically pull them apart. Security got involved, but by then, the damage was done. The cops were called because Matt's wife would not let up, screaming about how Jess was a homewrecker and that she deserved worse. HR immediately stepped in, and it was chaos. Employees were filming, people were panicking, and Matt looked like he wanted to disappear. In the end, Matt was fired for misconduct, Jess was escorted out for violating company policies, and his wife was taken out by security but wasn't arrested since Jess refused to press charges, probably to avoid more embarrassment. As for me, I kept my job, and the office finally had a real scandal to talk about. Now, some coworkers say I was being petty by not pushing harder to warn Jess, while others think she got exactly what she deserved. I never intended for things to explode like this, but after she tried to ruin my career, I don't exactly feel bad. Am I the bad person for staying quiet after she refused to listen? What do you guys think? Lay down your ruling in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 2. Am I the bad person for refusing to break up with my boyfriend after my family claimed they felt threatened by him when all he did was defend himself in an argument? I, 21F, have been with my boyfriend, 24M, for 2 years. We have a great relationship, he treats me well, respects me, and has never given me a reason to doubt him. But now my mom, 47F, and my brother, 22M, are demanding that I break up with him because they think he's too comfortable in our house, too mysterious, and somehow threatening. The conversation that got out of control. A few weeks ago, my mom and brother asked to have a serious talk with my boyfriend. They said they just wanted to clear the air and express some concerns. When I told my boyfriend about it, he agreed but said, "I'm just going to listen. I don't want to argue with your family." But from the moment the conversation started, it was obvious they weren't just trying to talk. They immediately started accusing him of things. "You act way too comfortable here. You don't ask permission before coming over. You don't talk about yourself enough, and that's suspicious." At first, he did exactly what he said, he just listened. But after 20 plus minutes of being criticized, he started to defend himself. He said, "I always let me know before I come over, and I've never assumed anything. I didn't realize I needed to explain my entire life to you to be welcome. If I've ever made you uncomfortable, that was never my intention." That's when my brother got aggressive and accused him of dodging the real issue, which apparently was that my boyfriend doesn't talk enough about his personal life. At this point, I could see my boyfriend was getting frustrated. I tried to mediate, saying, "Can we all just calm down? No one is attacking anyone." But my mom and brother kept pushing. They started saying things like, "You don't seem like a family man, and that's a red flag. If you respected us, you'd put in more effort to be part of the family." That's when my boyfriend finally said, "Bottom line, I come here to see her, not you. I owe her respect, not anyone else." That really set them off. My mom called him rude, and my brother said he was proving he didn't care about our family. My boyfriend, realizing that nothing he said would change their minds, sighed and said, "I'm not going to argue. If you don't want me here, I won't come over anymore." Then he left. Now my family says they feel threatened by him. After he left, my mom and brother acted like he was dangerous. My brother actually said the way he got defensive was scary. My mom backed him up, saying, "Men who react like that can be dangerous." I was completely shocked. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten anyone. He just defended himself. But now, they're both insisting that he's a walking red flag and that I need to break up with him before he isolates me from my family. The hypocrisy. The part that really pisses me off? My brother does the exact same thing, except worse. My brother doesn't work and brings his boyfriend over all the time. His boyfriend basically lives at our house, eats our food, and uses our utilities that I help pay for. No one says a word about how his boyfriend is too comfortable or too mysterious. So I snapped. I told them, if my boyfriend isn't welcome here, then I'm not paying for other people's boyfriends either. Since I contribute the most to groceries and bills, I decided to cut back on how much I put in. I'm barely home now anyways since I've been spending more time at my boyfriend's place. Now I'm the bad guy? My mom lost it and called me selfish, saying I was choosing my boyfriend over my family. My brother said I was being petty and punishing him just because I was mad. My mom is now saying your boyfriend is isolating you from us, even though they are the ones pushing me away. Honestly, I feel like they're just looking for excuses to dislike my boyfriend. He didn't do anything wrong, but now they're acting like he's some kind of threat just because he defended himself instead of sitting there and taking it. So, am I the bad person for refusing to break up with my boyfriend, refusing to force him to come over, and cutting back on how much I contribute to the house? What do you guys think of this one? Let us know in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 3. Am I the bad person for telling a woman her child is welcome in my home, but she isn't because of her criminal record? My husband, 28M, and I, 27F, have a 5-year-old son who just started kindergarten this past fall. He has met a boy named Sam, who he has decided is his best friend. My son has had a lot of playdates in the past because we tried hard to socialize him well from a young age. He has been asking if his friend Sam can come over for a playdate. Sure, no problem. I wrote a note with my name and number for Sam to give to his mom. I get a Facebook friend request from Sam's mom, who appears to be a Methany. I work in healthcare and recognize the sores on her face from picking. It's pretty obvious from her Facebook that she is on some kind of drugs and maybe has mental health issues. Out of curiosity, I looked up her name in our county's jail view record, and yup, long history. Drug possession, fraud, prostitution, theft, battery, obstruction of justice. It's not great. Anyways, I didn't want to let who his mom is get in the way of our kids playing together. But there was no way in hell I'd let my son go over to their house for a playdate, despite her offering. I played it off as me being overprotective and him being my only child, to not offend her. She laughed and said if you have more you'll learn to be less overprotective. She has 5 kids, but agreed to a playdate at my house. The park was also an option, but she said my house was fine. The weather is very cold here right now, so indoors over the park makes sense. Sunday comes over, I let the boy in. I mentioned she could come back in a few hours to pick him up. Whenever works for her, and I'd be sure to feed them both lunch. I asked if he has any food allergies, she says no. But she insisted on staying. I tried to make up a silly excuse, said I had a headache and would watch the boys diligently, but that I'm not really in the mood to hang out. She insisted that it would be great for us to get to know each other. Since the boys were out of earshot, already in the playroom, I stepped outside and quietly told her that I had looked up her criminal record, and I just don't feel comfortable having someone in my home with theft charges and an obvious drug problem. I said if that's a problem we could just meet at the park from then on, but the boys get along so I hope it's not a problem. I admit I was maybe a bit harsh and to the point. She kind of yelled at me and said I think that I'm better than her, which maybe I do, and that I don't know anything. She stormed off, her son still in the house. I checked with the kids to make sure they didn't hear anything. When she came back she just honked her horn and refused to come to the door. My husband kind of thinks I'm an asshole. He's always been very gentle and kind. He thinks I should have just watched her like a hawk. I told him I don't want to forcefully subject myself to that kind of person, and I shouldn't have to be on guard about some crackhead stealing our stuff. Am I the bad person? You've sat down, you've listened. Now, it's time to state your ruling. What is it gonna be? Let us have it down in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more cases like these. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.